What is happening to YouTube? It's Matt Faircloth. So I just got done 2 days walking apartment buildings out in Kentucky, and I've got two great lessons I want to share with you guys. One apartment building is a property that we are probably going to buy. We just put it under agreement, and it is mostly owner-paid utilities. And I want to talk to you guys about a lesson that came up for me, but I learned a little something too in this whole thing. I'm going to show you guys with what I learned. So it's a funky complex. There's really two complexes. There's one over here and there's another one over there. The one over here, the owner pays all utilities for the tenants, and the building's just set up that way. And there is a large tenant base in this market that wants utilities paid for them, and that are willing to pay a premium for utilities included. So there's money to be made if you're going to include utilities, but it's also one of those logistical things of like, well, how do I make this work? How do I not make this thing just come back and bite me in the rear and not have to, pay lots and lots of money for utilities? Is this an open-ended, like an open checkbook that tenants can just go and you set their heat at 85 degrees every day and stuff like that. So I got in touch with a lot of logistical things you can do if you're going to include utilities. Here's a quick list on what came up. Number one, you have limits on your thermostat. So the biggest way that a tenant can spend your money if you're paying the utilities is an unlimited range on the thermostat, meaning the tenant could physically turn the heat up to 85 degrees if they wanted to in their apartment, and the heat would accommodate that. You definitely want to have limits on your thermostats that can not only but turn up so far. And if you're providing air conditioning, as this complex is, then they can only turn the temperature down but so far in the summertime. Okay, so limits on thermostats is one thing. Obviously, energy efficiency. I mean, there's 80% efficient heaters, and they're way cheaper. And they're typically what you might want to do. I mean, not to be like, not tenant friendly, but if the tenant's paying utilities and you're on a super tight budget when you're renovating the apartment, you might go for an 80% efficient furnace. You're kind of costing the tenant more money on the utility bill, but maybe you can charge them a little less rent, whatever it is. But for instances like this, and this is like 92 units where we're paying the utilities for all of them. And this guy's got a 50% efficient boiler in the basement. 50%, right? That means that 50% of the energy puts in goes to waste. And that, so we're definitely going to yank that out and go with a 95% efficient boiler. We've already done the math. It'll have like a 2-year return on investment for the entire cost of the boiler. So that's a great thing to do, is efficiency on equipment. We're also going to do a lot of thermal insulation. So we're going to replace the windows in a lot of locations. We're going to put insulation in the attic of these apartments. The last thing that we're going to do is we're also paying the water bill. And this is very common in apartment buildings in general, is to do things to conserve water. It's good for the planet. It's just good stewards to preserve water. But it's also good for energy bills, because water's part of the energy bill too, or part of the utilities as well for apartment complexes. So we're going to be putting in low flow toilets and low flow shower heads and aerators on the sinks. And we've done the math. We're planning on getting our money back for that investment in the first 6 months for what that cost versus what it's going to save us. Given this many units, it's going to save us a ton. Now, we're creating revenue for ourselves because our rent charge is going to remain here, and if we can reduce the expense, then we're widening the gap that we make in profit on that complex. So energy efficiency is a huge thing if you're going to do owner-paid utilities. In that, I tend to shy away from owner-paid utility deals, but for a deal like this, I think I can play an economy of scale and make it work. Right? Lesson number 2 that came up is I walked one of our complexes that we already own. We want to keep a lot of the tenants in that complex as their leases come up for renewal. They're happy, we're happy, they pay their rent on time. We want to allow them to stay. The only problem is we need to get just the rents we're much lower than the market. So I'm not going to look to just jack their rent way up. We'd like to get just a minor rent increase that'll keep us up with the market, and we're willing to do some amenity increases for them in exchange for that rent increase. Now, we're going to do external amenities that they can enjoy no matter what. We're going to drop in a couple of playgrounds. We're going to do some physical amenities to the buildings and make the building shine a lot better. But we're also going to, in exchange for a rent increase of about $75, we're going to give them a menu. Okay, and on that menu, it's going to say, well, for $75, would you like new flooring? Maybe just new flooring in the living room, hallways, and kitchens. That's number 1. Would you want to maybe have new kitchen cabinets for $75 a month? Would you want to have maybe upgraded lighting throughout your apartment, new electrical outlets and new sink fixtures and maybe a new countertop in your kitchen and all that package? How about that for $75? Or would you like to have new appliances and a dishwasher and a microwave and all that for $75? It sounds like not that much money for those increases, but the way that we've calculated is our cost for any one of those things I just listed is about $2,800 to do any one of those things. So new flooring, new appliances, whatever. $75 a month equates to about 25% of that. So I'm getting a 25% return in exchange for each of those investments. So if I invest $2,800, I get 25% of my money back each year. That's a pretty good return. And then we're also, going to maybe refinance. That allows me to do things like refinance the building once all those rents are increased and I get that $75 across the board. So I can leverage it and pull a lot of that money back out if I wanted to. What also it allows me to do is some of these tenants are paying hundreds of dollars less than the market in rent, but I don't want to kick them out. I don't want to. They're happy. They're living in their home. They're paying good rents. I want to allow them to stay, but I've got to create a little bit of a rent bump, and so I create some amenities in the unit so they get to stay in their apartment, don't have to move. I get some return on our capital, and I also get a nicer complex that if the tenant does decide to move out in a year or two. I get a unit back that has new appliances or that has new hardwood floors or has new whatever as amenities that I can offer to the next tenant down the road, and maybe I can charge full market rent for it. So it enables us to slowly trickle up the rents in the complex, and I'm not going to tenants and saying, hey, you're $250 a month below the market, so you have to move out of your apartment and move into one that I renovated that's all the way up here, or you have to just move out, one of those two things. And in most states, you're allowed to do that, and Kentucky's one of them. So I don't want to do that. I've heard of other folks doing that in other states. We tried it one time at one of our other properties, and it completely did not work out very well at all. So we're not going to be doing that again. I want to keep everybody where they are and just slowly offer more value and offer slightly nicer apartments and let them pick what they want. Like, what do you want to do? You want to do flooring, appliances, any of that stuff. Let the tenants choose what they'd like to have that would benefit them the most in their apartment. So that's it. Those are two great takeaways that I got today. Call one the menu, and then the other one is how to handle landlord paid utilities and that. Those are two great lessons that I want to share with you guys today. That's what I got for you. Thank you so much for watching the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you read my book, Raising Private Capital, be sure to leave it a review on Amazon. I would greatly appreciate that because I sure do need more of those. So thank you. Have a great and profitable week, guys.